Okay, now that we've covered all the way up to Gettysburg with the Civil War, now we are going to move through Vicksburg all the way through to the Reconstruction. So in May of 1863, General Ulysses S. Grant led Union troops to Vicksburg, Mississippi. It was an essential port on the Mississippi River, so it helped control a lot of the trade along the Mississippi River. It was under siege for 8 weeks, so from May to July. It officially fell to the Union on July 4th, 1863, and it helped split the Confederacy. This was all part of the Anaconda Plan. So if you look at the map, you can see that Vicksburg is the little explosion that's in blue along the Mississippi River, about 3/4 of the way up through Louisiana. And it's really, really important because it's a huge supply line. If the South can get stuff moved up and down the Mississippi River out into the Gulf of Mexico through New Orleans, that's really helpful for supplies. But if they can't get those supplies, they're choked. Also going on in Pennsylvania at the time is the Battle of Gettysburg, which occurred from July 1st through the 3rd, 1863. It was also a Union victory, and it's known as the turning point of the war in combination with Vicksburg. Um, Both of those Union victories helped really push back the South and put them on major defense while the North was on offense. In May of 1864, Grant became the commander of Union forces. So he was sent from the Western Theater, which was basically the Mississippi River area, to Virginia to deal with Lee and his army. He faces some defeat, but severely weakened the Confederate forces. So he was overall seen as a hero. In August of 1864, back in the Western Theater, General William T. Sherman, who was working closely with Grant, began his march to the sea. So he captured Atlanta, which was a huge like munitions or arms or like ammo capital in the South. He burnt buildings, destroyed farms and factories, and then in September he took Savannah. As part of this march, he burned a good portion of the South. And when I say burned, I mean he scorched it all to the absolute ground. November In November 1864, Lincoln got reelected. Wasn't really a huge contest too much. McClellan went up against him, and McClellan lost. If you look at the map, you can see that he overwhelmingly won. In February of 1865, Sherman was still marching. He was out of Georgia and moving up through the Carolinas. And as I said before, it was like a whole scorched earth policy where he was burning everything in his path. By April of 1865, Lee's army is incredibly weak, and they were surrounded at Appomattox Courthouse, or Appomattox, Virginia, by Grant's forces. Lee formally surrendered to Grant at Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia on April 9th, 1865, and the Civil War is officially over. So, Reconstruction. This starts now. What does Reconstruction mean? So, Reconstruction is a plan for readmitting the Southern states to the Union after the Civil War. President Lincoln's plan, he had a goal of quickly restoring legitimate state governments that were loyal to the Union in the South. The requirements were don't punish the South for what they've done. Let's act with malice toward none, charity for all, to bind up the nation's wounds. Let's get them back up into the Union as quickly as possible. It was a fairly easy plan, and Lincoln really wanted to push for this. Lincoln was unable to carry out his plan for Reconstruction. Why? Because he was assassinated on April 14th, 1865, only 5 days after the war ended, by John Wilkes Booth, who was a Southern sympathizer and a well-known actor. As he jumped off the balcony in Ford's Theater, he was known as screaming, "Sic semper tyrannis," or "Long live tyranny." So Lincoln is dead. What does this mean for the South and the North and the Union now? Is the question that we have to answer now.